emu oil is a fabulous substance, okay? It has been used by the Aborigines going all the way back then for skin problems.
Yeah.
The emu bird could be a poster child for women's lib, because when the female lays the eggs, guess who sits on them? It's not the female. The male sits on those eggs, I think it's 60 days.
Wow.
And they don't even get up to eat. They live off the nutrients that are in the fat in their back.
Hey everyone, I'm Arjun, and welcome to the 5th episode of My First Sale, the podcast where I take you under the hood to see what all you need to do to start your own e-commerce business. We're going to hear from people who are right in the thick of it, and I'm honored to welcome my 5th guest to the show, Andrew Strickman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. And maybe if you want to start by introducing yourself and just talking a bit about what your business does.
Great. My name is Andrew Strickman, and my current business is called Age Advantage Brands. That is due to the fact that we have 3 brands. One is Age Advantage Skincare, which we launched about 18 years ago, and we primarily sell business to business to independently owned health food stores, pharmacies, not the big box, because the independent people like the fact that they carry stuff the big box doesn't have. And we're about to come back out with our men's line, which is called Manifest for Men, the women's skincare. To be candid, it's basically the same products in masculine packaging, because skin is skin. Right. So don't let anybody steer you and say specifically formulated for men's skin.
Right.
And then our brand CBD Made Easy. We're now moving a little bit more toward e-commerce, just simply because it's very unfortunate that a lot of these independently owned stores are being forced out of business, and it's really a shame. And, you know, even store owners that we deal with, their parents started the store 40 and 50 years ago, and then these people, when they were in high school, worked in the store, and now they are the owner, and now they're going out of business. Right. Not all of them. So that's what we do.
Right.
So it originally started as Age Advantage Skincare at the beginning of 2001.
Okay.
But then it has grown now to Age Advantage Brands,
right,
where we have various brands all under the same umbrella.
Right, and you said those 3 brands, just to clarify, were skincare,
Correct.
CBD, and then now the third one is...
It's skincare, but geared toward men. As a matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and mention, we actually came out with the skincare for men. It's called Manifest for Men.
Right.
And originally came out with it back in 2008.
Okay.
And at the time, we were utilizing these gold, metal, aluminum jars with glass on the inside for the women. So we found the same component in a aluminum color with chrome trim. So it was perfect for men, okay? And we came up with the name Manifest for Men and the logo and all that. Well, it was great, and a good number of the stores that carried our products, because they knew how good they were, brought it in, but it didn't sell. And the reason it didn't sell was because back in 2008, unless it came in a plastic squeeze tube, you could take it with you in the shower, do every single thing with it, include brush your teeth, and it cost under $15. Men were just not interested in it. Oh my God. So this actually brings to point something as far as entrepreneurship and starting a business. Make sure whatever product you're coming out with, there's a niche for it. Seriously. So we're coming out with it again. I mean, we've got it on our shelves, and we're building our section of the website for it to support that. But yeah, it's very important. I mean, number one, you got to believe in what it is you're starting. Right. So you never want to look for or listen to the people that give you all the reasons why it's not going to work. Of course. All right. You need to believe in what you're doing, but also it's a pretty good idea to make sure that there's a market for it, whatever you're doing, your product or service.
So how did you get interested in this space in the first place? I think, you know, there's not only are there multiple different products you have in mind here, the lotion stuff, the skincare stuff, the CBD stuff, but like in general, being able to create these products sounds pretty difficult.
Very good question. Thank you for asking. Just a very brief background. I, from Atlanta, since the 4th grade.
Oh my God.
So I grew up here for all practical purposes. I'm a native. I mean, actually, if you're here in Atlanta for 6 months, you're considered a native. Okay.
Right.
And the Reader's Digest version here, I grew up thinking I wanted to be a physician because my father was a doctor. So I did my undergraduate at Emory.
Okay.
I was accepted to medical school. And before starting, I decided I didn't want to be a doctor. Now, whether that was a mistake or not, okay. However, you never want to look back. You always want to learn from things. And this has to do with starting a business. And if it doesn't work out as well as you wanting it to, you learn what went wrong or what you did not do correct, and you apply that. So I needed to make an income, and I was trying to figure out what my next venture was going to be. And a girlfriend of mine said, who knew who this guy was, "Hey, why don't you just go to work there? You're not going to make a career out of it." Well, what wound up happening, it was all inside sales, dealing with pharmacies and health food stores. And since I have a chemistry background, I started learning about ingredients. And his products were really inexpensive gimmicks.
Yeah.
Okay. But once I learned about what worked and what didn't work, I decided I'm just going to go launch my own line. And that's how I got into it.
There you go. And so when you were launching your own line, I mean, I know oftentimes that when I come to like a grocery store or pharmacy store or something like that, I'm trying to buy some lotions, there are a lot of things in front of me, and it can be kind of overwhelming. Like, how do you stand out in that crowd? I know, like, I don't know, it just sounds difficult.
The thing is it's very important not necessarily to say that you're better, because everybody's got the best.
Right.
It's how do you make yourself different, okay, and stand out. So I utilized a very small contract manufacturer who saw us going from UPS delivering stuff to 18-wheelers delivering stuff, because we had 1,800 accounts. And then ultimately he started knocking the stuff off, okay, which didn't last long, but it put me upside down because I didn't realize I should have had a secondary manufacturer. So we built our business, I guess, to answer your question, because our products truly are very, very good and work. As a matter of fact, today we are still selling the same products that we came out with in 2001. We have women who've been buying directly from us, one of them for 17 years, every 3 months. There wasn't internet back then, okay? And the key also is customer service is essential.
Yeah.
You're better off having a fair product and fabulous customer service than a great product and fair customer service.
Fair enough.
And it's also very important to listen to your customers. And one of the things that's very important is to talk to your customers, whether it be through a survey, whether it be through an insert in your order that show that you care. But a very important thing to ask is, if Joe over there or Sally was considering using our products, what would you tell them as to why they should be using them? Because my own perception of what's good or different and everything else is simply my opinion. You got to listen to your customers.
Yeah. So what do people say? Like, what is the go-to reason why people suggest your product to other people?
Because they work. Last year we started attaining Google reviews. I think we have 16 of them now. Every single one is a 5-star. And amazing. What these people are writing is they're saying, I've been using these products for over 10 years and you're wasting your time and money trying something else. The other thing is, our newest products were 5 years old this past June. If you've got something that works, don't keep reinventing the wheel. All right? Particularly in the skincare business, you watch. First, there's all the fly-by-nighters, okay, with the commercials, and they've just sold their millionth bottle and blah, blah, blah. And 6 months later, you don't see them anymore, okay? But even the big names, you'll notice that every 6 or 7 months, they come out with the latest and the greatest. And 6 months later, they got another latest and the greatest. And you don't even hear about what it was that they were selling before. if you've got something that works, stick with it.
Yeah.
Of course, you can always improve upon. It's also very important that your packaging looks professional and your entire brand, okay?
Right.
Whether it's a service, whether it's a product, it's all got to look right, too. So really, I guess to answer your question, we've been successful because people that do use them keep coming back.
Yeah. How did you know that you started by yourself, is that right?
Yes.
Did you have a co-founder or anything?
No.
Okay. So how did you decide, I want to do this by myself and not sort of start with somebody else? I think a lot of times that is an early step.
I don't know whether you want to call it stubbornness or overconfident. It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
Now today, I see the value of connecting with someone who brings other things to the table, has the same vision, the same passion.
Yeah.
But a team is much better than one person. And that's another thing, I'll be very candid with you. I mean, over the years, it's taken me a long time to delegate. And this is one of the things that not only have I made error in myself, but if you read various things regarding entrepreneurs, a lot of times entrepreneurs, they hold on to their idea and it's their baby and they don't want to delegate anything to anybody.
Right.
And I'm just telling you from my own experience, that is a huge mistake.
Fair enough. So I mean, you have obviously expanded not just in scope, but also into different industries as well. At what point did you decide, I sort of understand the skincare market, I can apply some of these same skills to other places like in CBD? Where did that come from?
So I happened to meet this fellow. I was very fortunate. He is a pillar in the industry. 30 years now, because we're the same age.
Sure.
Manufacturing, all this. And so we did things on a handshake. It was a very fortunate situation. He is now a part owner in an 80,000 square foot contract manufacturing facility and an owner in a licensed hemp processing plant. So 2 years ago, and as a matter of fact, some of the major brands are made under his roof, okay? And so I really didn't listen to him 2 years ago. He calls me up. I mean, we talk regularly, so it wasn't like a call out of the blue. But he calls me up and he says, "Hey, Andrew, we're making all this CBD." And I really didn't know much about it other than when I think back to my college days. Okay. Won't go there, but I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there that can relate. That's the real CBD. Anyway, at any rate, he said to me, "We've got all the raw materials, why don't you come out with a brand?"
Yeah.
And I really didn't listen until a year ago. I wish I had listened before, because the barrier of entry wouldn't be as great. Now everybody's doing it, and that's a good thing also, because there's a lot of inferior stuff out there, and you can only make something as good as it gets, and ours is as good as it gets, but there's others that are as good as it gets. And this brings me back to the point of, don't try to say you're better. What makes you different?
Right.
So after listening to customers, this goes back to something I said before, I got in touch with owners of health food stores that have been carrying our skincare products for a number of years. And I said, these are ones that I have a personal relationship with. And I flat out asked them, what are the issues? And I start learning, here's the problem with our staff. They don't understand what's going on. Their labeling is all over the map. Everybody's doing this. Customers don't understand. Hence, after listening to them and actually getting them involved with taking the input, I'd make the label, I'd email it to them, they'd look at it and go, "Oh, you're getting there, blah, blah." So we came up with the whole concept, CBD Made Easy.
There you go.
All right, and then our tagline is, "It's good to know what you're really getting." So that's how I got into that.
That makes sense. You talk a lot about this idea of showing how you're different, right? And I think that's a hugely applicable idea in pretty much any type of business. But at the same time, you also talked about how, that story about how one of your suppliers, I think, was making some stuff for you, and it was the only manufacturer that you had, and they ended up trying to make a knockoff of it. Is that something that happens a lot in this business in particular, that people just try to do knockoffs of everything?
I would tend to think that is, I don't know how prevalent it is or what percentage, but there's a lot of snakes out there. And, okay.
Yeah.
To a large extent, in the skincare business, all right, there is nothing that would preclude somebody. You know, you gotta, and there's companies that don't do this, but legally, you need to list on your ingredient label things from the highest concentration to the lowest.
Yeah.
Which is why most products, water is the very first thing there. Not in ours, okay? Not in the creams, but that's another story.
Sure.
Nothing would preclude somebody from, they've got the list of ingredients, okay? They could go to an analytical lab, say, I want you to put this under the, for those of you who watch Forensic Files, the mass spectrophotometer. Yeah. Okay. And they'll come back and give you a report and tell you exactly what the ingredients are in it and what percentages. Yeah. You can't really stop somebody from doing that.
You mentioned also that, you know, for the first many years that you were building this business, you started by selling through health food stores.
Correct.
Right? And recently you started to take a push towards e-commerce in particular, as you started to see these health stores either go out of business or become, I guess, less profitable avenues. How has that transition been, and sort of like what, I guess, difficulties have you run into or lessons have you learned along the way?
I really can't tell you, you know, we're starting to pick up more sales online, but we have always really used our website as an educational tool, and I've always made it a policy that the prices on our website are actually a little higher than if a retail store paying normal wholesale were to mark it up 100%. And these retailers love that. Because a lot of places they can go online, you know, people come in the store and price shop right on the deal.
Right.
All right. Right on their mobile device. And so our website really is for people who want to purchase the product because there is not a retailer in their area, or for convenience, or they just like spending extra money. Okay. But we utilize it as a resource for information, brand awareness, but we don't utilize it to undercut our retailers.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And do you feel that in this space, I mean, you have sort of like two different industries that you're building products that you said are quite different, right? And I think, do you find that a lot of what you have to do, or a piece of it, is education with these customers? Like, do you feel like people require that education before they're interested in buying, or before they're interested in learning more about the industry, especially, I guess, for CBD? I don't know if that's also the case for lotion.
Yes, the training and the education, whether it be to the personnel in the store to be able to be your representative to their customer, or whether it be to a consumer that's coming directly to you and needing to be educated. So yes, education is tremendous. And again, going back to something else that I mentioned previously, it's very, and we haven't even done all this. We've got a lot of work to do on this. How do you know what the right education is? I might think that I need to give you all of this technical jargon and that's going to educate you. But what I'm looking at and makes sense to me, you got to talk to your audience. You got to find out what is it. It's just like that example. What would you tell them about our products? Because what you tell them might be completely different than what I would tell them. However, what you tell them carries more weight. Right. You're more right on than me trying to tell somebody based on my own beliefs.
Right.
Did that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So one thing I really like talking about, this is sort of the inspiration behind the name of this podcast, is the idea of an entrepreneur's first sale. I think that a lot of times... That
is a very good name, by the way.
Thank you. A lot of times I think when you do make that first sale for a business, it completely changes the way that you think about your business, the way that your friends and your family think about your business, and really like the trajectory for you, where you want to focus your efforts. Up until then, you know, you have an idea of what people want, but once somebody actually hands you cash for what you're building, I think it changes things. So I know your business has been around for a little bit of time, probably the longest running business out of the ones that we've done so far in this podcast. But would be curious to hear if you remember what that first sale was like for Age Advantage and what the story was behind it.
Well, one, you really got something.
Yeah.
All right. But to your point, and I was told this by the company that I learned the skincare in, and this is something I profess to every single new salesperson of mine.
Yeah.
And I throw this out there to anybody in sales. If you can sell one, you can sell 1,000.
Yeah.
Period. So what does the first sale really mean? It means you can sell as many of them as you want.
That's true.
Excuse me.
So do you remember that first sale for you guys?
It was a pharmacy. I don't remember which one. But yeah, I mean, it's a thrill when they go, okay, yes.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think another thing that's really interesting to think about is that when you're building a business, a lot of times there's always some point, I guess, when you sort of feel like things are just falling apart. Like I think there's something where you a bunch of bad things happen in a row.
Excuse me.
You're good. A bunch of bad things happen in a row, and it feels like the universe is sort of working against you. Do you mind sort of like walking through a time that you can feel like when that was happening?
Yeah, when the slab started ripping my stuff off. What you got to do when adversity, for lack of a better term, step back, look at the situation, calm down, so that you can look at things realistically.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example. The original name of my brand was Skintelligent, with a capital S and a capital T, all one word, like intelligent. And then the slogan was something like the smartest choice for your skin or something like that. I was doing some co-op advertising with a customer of ours in Fresno, and there was a very inexpensive low-power radio station that was on a old military base on top of a mountain. So he's telling me, this is great. They syndicate the Rush Limbaugh show, and he's telling me, I said, how much are the spots? He says they're $50, and I said, so I'll cover $25, which is basically giving him a free jar of something. And he's telling me, Andrew, you're about to get $200,000 worth of advertising for practically nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that was great. And he's telling me this goes up into Oregon, and it actually goes, they can hear it as far down as L.A. because they're on top of a mountain. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was great until a federal marshal showed up on my front doorstep a couple months later with a lawsuit for trademark infringement in the federal court in Southern California because some guy had a registered trademark for the name Skintelligent, making these garbage products. He's down there in L.A. He hears my ad on the Rush Limbaugh show, thinks I'm some big company, doesn't even bother sending me a letter saying you might be infringing. He just sued me. Jeez. And so, to your point, I lost sleep for a week. I was like, oh my God, why me? But then what you got to do, which is the point, as devastating as that was, okay, just deal with it.
Yeah.
I came up with another name. I stopped using it. Fortunately, the company was in a position to pay the huge legal bills. They didn't get anything because it was an oversight by an examiner in the USPTO. Yeah. Okay, the judge threw it out, but it was a nightmare. Yeah. But to your point, or to your question, you got to roll with it. You got to go. It's just like life. I mean, life isn't always easy. Yeah. Stuff comes up. So how do you deal with it? You just deal with it.
Fair enough. How did you come up with the name Age Advantage?
Many nights at my home office there, okay? Because obviously worked out of my home for a long time. And that brings another point. If that's what you do, stay disciplined and everything, but if you're able to get into even a co-working space where you are around other people and other entrepreneurs, you never know who you're going to meet. It also is boosting. You're not there by yourself, but of course that all has to do with, can you afford that place at the time? Skintelligent, I thought, was the best name I came up with, and I couldn't think of anything. And I kept thinking, and then finally I thought to myself, okay, well, what does the product do? So I decided it's going to give you an advantage over aging. Because back then, a lot of people nobody really in 2001 was utilizing the term anti-aging.
Yeah.
We did. Now everybody's anti-aging. But that's where the name came from. Basically, was get your advantage over aging with age advantage. So that's where it came from.
I know one thing that really tends to be a barrier for people when they're about to start a business is this idea that they may have a current stable job and they're sort of jumping into the deep end of the pool where they're going to have nothing, right? And like oftentimes when you're starting off a business, you may not have enough sales to even pay rent to start off with, right? So I know you mentioned in other businesses you've raised some funding before. How did you think about that for Age Advantage? Like, did you consider loans? Did you consider angel investing? Did you consider going out to raise VC money? What was the process there?
That's a very good question. Sales is the only profession in the world where you're actually paid exactly what you're worth. Okay.
Fair enough.
And the key to sales is listening to your customer. If I already know on the front end that what I have for you, as an example, you want to know about CBD, and I ask you, do you have sleeplessness? No. Do you have anxiety? No. Do you have pain? Do you have this? Do you have that? And you go through the whole list of the things that CBD can potentially be beneficial for, and you tell me you don't have any of them, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you don't even need this, okay? Seriously.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is tell the story, tell the truth. Don't just try to enlighten somebody so that they can make their own decision that this is correct for them. Don't sell it to them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I happen to be in a good position that now when I left, he held up a bunch of my commissions. Okay, he wasn't happy I was going out and doing my own brand.
Right.
But I didn't have high overhead. I did take the TVs in because I had to add to my overhead the little executive suite.
Right.
Okay, and for those of you, because I don't even know where they have them, well, it's kind of like a Regis, okay, where they answer the phone and it sounds like a big company and all that business. So I did not need to go out and raise money.
Okay.
And fortunately, the margins were such that it just operated on its own cash flow.
Nice. Very cool. Have you ever considered going out to raise money in the future?
You know, I should. But that goes back to the entrepreneur wants to hang on to his baby gig, okay, which is not necessarily the best thing to do. When you're starting a business, even after you start it and you're running it, you got a million things to do all the time, and you never know what's going to pop up.
Yeah.
Very important to have a schedule. That between this time and this time, this is what I'm doing. Don't let things interfere, and take the most difficult thing you've got to do in a day. Do it first. Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Tackle it. Conquer it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's very important. You know, it's that saying, how do you eat an elephant or something like that? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
It is more important, it is what I have learned, and this has really been learned just in the last couple of years. You're better off doing a little bit at a time on something on a daily basis than waiting to try to do the whole thing at one time.
Yeah.
Because what winds up happening is something always comes up, and you're not going to get around to this. And before you know it, a week went by, a month went by.
Usually how I end off the podcast is with what we do as a rapid fire round.
Okay.
So basically how that works is I'm just going to toss out a couple of thoughts or ideas and kind of hear your immediate take on them. And typically they'll be related to your business, like how that thought affects your business.
Okay.
If at all. So you ready to go? All right. Yeah. CBD laws.
So they're changing all the time, and it's our goal to be one of the last ones standing when the dust settles.
There you go. Cannabis laws.
Cannabis laws in terms of what?
Do you think, where do you think they're headed, I guess?
You talking about like legalized marijuana?
Yeah.
That people get high from?
Yeah.
It seems like everybody's jumping on that bandwagon. All right, and it's driven a lot by money, how much taxes the states can make. I don't know where it's going. It's probably getting the cartel's a little upset, whatever the case. But I don't know. And I don't know because that really doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing.
Right.
And there's enough to keep your plate full.
Right. Alternative medicine.
In terms of homeopathic, oh, I think all that's great. There's somebody who spent millions of dollars showing that for people with epilepsy, that this homeopathic remedy, namely CBD, is very effective.
Yeah.
It's very effective. You know, I get asked all the time, does your pain cream work?
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, knock on wood, I don't have any type of chronic pain. So I can't tell you from my own, but what people tell me and reorders. So I think homeopathic, it seems like the general public is really starting to get not only fed up with pricing on things, okay, but people don't want to put chemicals in their body. So I think the whole homeopathic area, space, is becoming more of interest and also of benefit to people.
Yeah. Do you think normal cannabis, like not just CBD, but normal cannabis has medical properties that should be utilized?
I'm not the chemist, but I would venture to say yes. I mean, they already know, and even though this doesn't cure cancer, people that have chemo and all that type of stuff. I mean, I had a dear friend. She wound up lasting a couple years, but she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
And she wound up living 2 years, even though it was stage 4 or something when they first found it. She was anti-smoking pot, period. Now, her boyfriend smoked pot.
Yeah. She
was now smoking pot. Why? Because it got rid of all of the side effects of chemo and everything else.
Wow.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it got rid of the nausea. It got rid of everything. So that just goes to show that, and that's why people could get medical marijuana out in California. There are benefits to real pot.
Yeah. Do you have a daily skincare routine?
I utilize, now obviously I've got everything, and this is another thing, I hate to admit it, but it's almost like the cobbler's kids don't have shoes. I would use my stuff sporadically.
Yeah.
All right. Now what I do, I got myself a little bit more disciplined as I've been trying to do with business. I utilize, and I'll put this out there to people, you should use a vitamin C product every day. Every morning you should, even if you use nothing else, use a product with vitamin C. I utilize our vitamin C product in the morning. I also utilize on my eyes our stem cell renew repair eye serum. And at night, if I'm not too tired and I remember, I'll use either our Age Savers retinol serum. See, and that's another thing. Some people prefer a cream and some people prefer a serum. If I'm in a real hurry, I'll just use the serum because it's a lot easier to squirt it out and just do this than open up a jar and start doing this.
Yeah.
So I use vitamin C every morning, and I use something for my eyes. If I'm not too tired, I'll use our Ultimate Eye Cream around my eyes.
Yeah.
My eyes aren't perfect, but as you can see, I don't have a bunch of crow's feet and stuff.
Looks great.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what I do.
Like ethical skincare products, like around like animal cruelty and stuff like that. Any thoughts?
I don't know what others do. We don't have any animal cruelty. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because nowadays, this was as a couple of years ago, you only needed to be 60% natural ingredients to be called a natural product. I mean, seriously, you go in a place that says this is a natural skincare product, it only needs to be 60%.
Yeah.
Ours are 98.5 to 100. Wow. That's because years ago, I mean, we developed the products that way.
Right.
As far as you're asking me about the efficacy of them?
I think just, is that something that comes into your daily considerations? I mean, like, for instance, I noticed one of the things that, one of the ingredients in a few of your products is emu oil, which I guess must be from... That's
from the Australian emu bird.
Yeah.
And by the way, that'll bring me, because I'll tie something in. Emu oil is a fabulous substance, okay? It has been used by the Aborigines going all the way back then for skin problems.
Yeah.
And what makes it so effective, it is very high naturally in the omega-3 and omega-6 and omega-9 unsaturated fatty acids. And whenever I've been asked this over the years, my answer is, they go, how do they get the emu oil out of the emu bird? And if anybody's ever familiar, they're like an ostrich.
Yeah.
Okay? And emu meat has no fat in it, because if you look at the birds, they've got this big backpack on their back. That's where all the fat is. And as a matter of fact, the emu bird could be a poster child for women's lib, because when the female lays the eggs, guess who sits on them? It's not the female. The male sits on those eggs, I think it's 60 days.
Wow.
And they don't even get up to eat. They live off the nutrients that are in the fat in their back. Okay? Yeah, this is an unknown fact. So when somebody says, well, how do they get it out of the emu bird? My answer is, it ain't liposuction. Okay? The fact of the matter is, they do not kill the bird to get the emu oil. It is a byproduct of livestock. It's just like a chicken here, okay? They utilize the feathers. They utilize the meat. They utilize the leather on their legs and stuff. Right. So I don't consider that to be animal cruelty.
Sure.
They're not testing on it. That would be like saying, now granted, you got people out there that are vegetarians that won't eat a chicken because they're killed. Okay, but it's a byproduct of livestock.
Sure. That makes sense. Do you use CBD?
Oh yeah. Now, I don't use it every day. I utilize it because like many entrepreneurs, mine goes around a lot. I'll use it periodically for sleeplessness, okay? Because how many times can I listen to the same Forensic Files show? All right. It is effective for me for sleeplessness.
Makes sense. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate having you here.
Listen, if you appreciate me being here half as much as I appreciate you having me, you most certainly appreciate me being here. And I want to thank you and the audience for listening.
Absolutely. And where should they find you?
What do you mean?
Like online, if they're trying to buy products.
Oh, yeah. If you go to ageadvantagebrands.com, then there are, icons for the skincare, which will take you to skincare, CBD Made Easy, and the manifest for men is being constructed right now. Or you can just go directly, ageadvantageskincare.com or cbdmadeeasy.com.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, any suggestions, or if you or someone else you know would like to be on the next episode. And if you're thinking about starting a business, what are you waiting for? Do it already.